Playing Kahoot in class back in the day was always the funnest thing to do. Everything about it was competitive, the music was fire, but I won't lie, the amount of trust and patience the teachers had in us when it came to picking those usernames was crazy. For every 10 times we played Kahoot, 10 times we disappointed them. It went the exact same way every time. We'd walk into class, the teacher would talk about how since they're in the best mood of their entire life today, they just barely feel happy enough to allow us to play Kahoot. And if anybody so much as sneezes the wrong way, we're gonna cancel the game and sit in silence for the rest of class. And so then they'd pull up the code on the projector screen, and then those names started popping up. People are encoding hidden meanings into their names, pretending to be other students, they're insulting the teacher with their names, all types of crazy other stuff. Half the time the teacher was so technologically incompetent, they couldn't even figure out how to kick the names out. Some kid thinks he's part of Anonymous or something. He's gonna load up the Kahoot bot and break the game, spams 4,000 names onto the screen. I'm like, bro, Kahoot is gonna be over before it even starts. I don't know, Kahoot was maybe just slightly too much freedom, caused people to act up too much. So I remember certain teachers, to incentivize everyone to behave, would give out candy or something to whoever won. I remember this one Spanish class I took, I had a teacher that would do exactly that. And she had this enormous bag of Jolly Ranchers. I don't even really know where she found a bag of Jolly Ranchers that big, but she kept them in this little cabinet behind her desk, and she would hand them out to the winners whenever we played Kahoot. So one day we're in Spanish class, we're playing Kahoot, they're quizzing us on clothing items and various fruits. There's always that one kid somehow whooping everybody by like 7 million points. And after the game ends, she calls up first, second, and third place to come forward and grab one Jolly Rancher each. And by the way, come on, you already know I was a part of the winner's circle. Hey, shout out to the smartest girl in the class with the giant laptop that sat right in front of me. So she goes to check the little cabinet behind her desk where she always keeps her Jolly Ranchers, but her lifetime supply size bag wasn't in there. She's like, I swear I put it right here in my cabinet. She's double checking the drawers, and then this look of realization and depression comes over her face as she realizes that somebody probably ran off with her bag of Jolly Ranchers. She couldn't believe it. And I had no idea what happened to the bag. I didn't know if somebody took it, maybe she lost it, misplaced it. I didn't know, nobody knew. So class just ended and I didn't even think twice about it. Just went about the rest of my day. Fast forward to later that afternoon after school ended. I'm waiting around with some friends. We're just chilling by the parking lot. With my one friend, we're all just sitting there talking, right? When this man opens up his backpack and nonchalantly pulls out this teacher's whole giant bag of Jolly Ranchers. He goes, "Oh, by the way, does anybody want some candy?" I'm like, there is no way, bro. And that's when I remember he had his Spanish class with the same teacher right before lunch and I had mine right after lunch. I'm like, yeah, that is 110% Mrs. Gallego's bag of Jolly Ranchers. I'm like, bro, so you were the one responsible for her whole candy stash going missing. He's popping Jolly Ranchers. He's like, oh yeah, she went to the office for something. I just walked up, opened her cabinet and took it. I'm like, what? Did nobody see you? He's like, oh yeah, a few people did, but I bribed them and it was all good. I said, bribed them? How? He said, with Jolly Ranchers. So this man bought silence and loyalty with a watermelon flavored candy. Hey, smart man right there. And yeah, she never found out. The funny thing is, the very next day I walk into Spanish class after lunch, already had a padlock on the cabinet. Locking up Jolly Ranchers is crazy. She was pushed too far. I wouldn't be surprised if she hid a Ring camera or something down there too. And bro, this man would be roaming the halls, just snacking on candy out of his backpack, carrying around this giant bag of Jolly Ranchers with him. He's walking down the halls, making it rain Jolly Ranchers. The whole school was getting free candy for days. He tried to justify it. He said, see, I like to look at it like I'm the Robin Hood of Jolly Ranchers. So I guess at least he was generous with it. I walked into a random class afterwards. This was like a week later. I walked in, sat down. The random kid next to me, his breath smelled like green apple. I already knew where the source was. I felt like Hank in Breaking Bad when the blue stuff started popping up again. I had to wonder, was this the old batch? Did he steal a new bag or what? But playing Kahoot was always a fun time. Even though myself, I was never perfect enough to win at Kahoot. I mean, you miss one question, forget about it. You drop back like 15 spots, your game is over, you'll never recover. Another common thing was when it would be the easiest question in the world, and then the results show it'd be like 32 checks on the blue, And then that one kid, you don't know what was going on with him. I won't lie, that might have been me one time. You get a question like that wrong, that's when you gotta lower your brightness real quick, wait it out till the next question pops up. I remember on another day, I was in Spanish class again. This time it was a different class though, a different year. I don't know why, but the Spanish department at my high school ran Kahoot games constantly. I signed up for Spanish 3. Nah, that class was Kahoot 3. And hey, the Spanish teachers put up with a lot because of it. Because I remember we had this one Indian kid in our class. We'll call him Baljit, alright? And we were playing Kahoot, and for whatever reason, everyone thought it'd be funny for everybody in the class to make their Kahoot name Baljit. So the teacher loads up the game, and immediately, it was a whole wave of Baljits. There's 34 different Baljits on the screen, fat Baljit, dumb Baljit, real Baljit, and it was all in good fun. Baljit thought it was funny too. And our teacher played along the first time around. She's like, alright, haha, funny joke, but I need to see your real names so I can give out credit. And she says, I'm gonna restart the game, real names only this time. And then she restarts it, and nobody cared. The same exact thing happens. Her patience starts running thin. She's like, really guys, what is this, first grade? And she restarts the game again, and by now there were less Baljits, but still more than one. So we had gone through this process like 3 times in a row, and she's just getting progressively more and more ticked off each time, until eventually she was pushed past her limit, and now she's standing up there yelling at us about how we're gonna try this one last time, and this was our last chance, or we were gonna do worksheets or something the rest of the block period. She said the only person putting Baljit better be Baljit, and this better be the final time, and then she restarts the game. And everybody got the message. People are finally taking her seriously now, putting their actual names. I remember she was staring hard at that projector screen, hyper-analyzing every single username that popped up. So I'm sitting there in the back. I had my one friend next to me. We'll call him Mateo. I had already entered my name in when Mateo taps me on my arm. This man has a grin on his face, and he shows me his phone, and he's got real Baljit typed into the username space. And all I could think was, this man is not for real right now. And then he presses enter. And obviously the actual Baljit's name is already up there. And so when she saw that second Baljit pop up there, she couldn't believe her eyes. She whipped her head around so quick, immediately starts staring down the whole class. The class couldn't believe it either. I would say it was dead silent in that room, but it wasn't, because Kahoot music was going off in the background. And she was heated. She starts yelling, talking about, never in my 13 years of teaching have I ever had a class behave like this. She goes, Baljit, which one of these is yours? He's like, look, mine's just the normal Baljit. And she looks across the class and goes, whoever is real Baljit needs to come forward right now. And just for some context, that entire class was high school freshmen, except for myself and Mateo. We were 2 grades above everybody, the only upperclassmen in that class. So I don't even think she was thinking about us two. She's kind of glaring around at all the freshmen. What she would do is intentionally pick a random student and make strong eye contact with them just to see how they reacted, to try and pick out whichever delinquent put real Baljit. And she was so heated, veins popping out of her forehead. Everybody's waiting for real Baljit to reveal themselves. And with every second that passed, she was just getting angrier and angrier. Mateo isn't saying a thing. He's just sitting there trying to blend in, keeping quiet. I think he was hoping that she would just let it go, but she was not dropping it. She just kept staring around at everybody, asking who real Baljit was. She's saying she's about to walk around and check everybody's phone, and it became clear we were all gonna sit there until she found out who did it. And this was the beginning of the 2-hour block period, so it's not like he was going to be able to wait for class to end either. She's like, I will stand up here and wait all day until whoever put real Baljit comes forward. She basically said, may I have your attention please? Will the real Baljit please stand up? And Mateo did not stand up, so we had a problem. I side glance over at him real quick, see what he's doing, how he's going to play this. And this man looked nervous. She's talking about bringing the principal in, collecting everybody's devices. And I felt a little bad for the teacher, but I won't lie, I was entertained right now watching this whole thing. Now, a few days earlier, she had assigned our class like the longest, most complicated group project of all time. It was in groups of 6 or something. It was supposed to take the entire semester to finish. I remember because she had to give a whole presentation just to explain the project to us. It was insane. Imagine trying to schedule group meetings for that. But she was gonna let us do the whole project in class, so it wasn't even on our own time, so that made it better. But then she says that if the person who put real Baljit doesn't come forward in the next 30 seconds, she's gonna make us do the whole project on our own time, outside of class, no class time. And everyone starts groaning because come on, nobody wants to do that. That sounds actually horrible. After she said that, she turned everyone against each other. People start trying to look over at each other's phones, try to find out who's really real Baljeet. Some kid hated the idea of doing the project outside of class so much, he just threw some random kid under the bus. He's like, it was Logan, I saw him do it. Logan was like, what? He had to defend himself, show the teacher his phone screen to prove it wasn't him. My boy Logan was like,
accusations! These are not accusations, this is false accusations.
So people are just firing blind shots at each other now. It was getting a little chaotic. And then she goes, so like I said, I'll give whoever the person is that put real Baljeet 30 seconds to think about it to decide if they want to come forward. And then she just starts counting out loud. 30, 29, 28. I side glance over at Mateo again. This man is sweating bullets. She's down to 15, 14, 13. So I don't know what type of thoughts were running through his mind at the moment. There's a whole standoff going down right now. He's probably trying to decide if he's going to take the entire class down with him or throw himself under the bus and save everyone else. I'm looking straight ahead, trying to keep a poker face. She's all the way down to 7, 6, 5. When I hear his chair scrape against the ground as he stands up, I think to myself, I'm like, man, he decided to turn himself in. I thought I might never see the homie again. He starts doing the walk of shame over to the teacher to show her his phone. Kahoot music's still going off in the background, by the way. Everybody's head in the class is just following him as he walks up, and she's staring him down the whole way. He shows her his phone screen, starts explaining away, trying to give some explanation. I mean, I don't even know what you could say in that situation. You know, she was just a Spanish teacher, but I thought she was going to take him on a field trip to Mexico, and only one of them would come back. And after that whole thing, I don't think we played Kahoot ever again in that class. But it wasn't even only with Kahoot. There was really problems with any app or website that involved student participation. I remember I was in this history class and the teacher wanted us to try this new app called Edmodo. And I couldn't even tell you what that is because the Edmodo plans got trashed before we could do anything with it. And you'll see why in a second. So we're in class, the teacher's all excited, telling us about this new classroom app. And she says we're all going to sign up for the app today and start using it on Thursday. Thursdays were going to be Edmodo Thursdays. And she said, very important, make sure to only use your real names so I can see who does which assignments. And everybody listened, you know, you could see the classroom list and you see everybody's names on there. So a couple days go by, we still haven't started using the app yet, but I'm in class one day and I hear this one kid behind me, we'll call him Jeff. He's talking about how you could actually add unlimited names to the class list. You just put in a fake email address, type in whatever name you want, log out and repeat. And so this man then proceeds to start adding not random names, but alternative name versions based off of people's real names. So for example, there was this girl Amy Richards who got into a crash in the school parking lot. So he added an Amy Can't Drive Richards, complete with the custom profile photo and everything. There was this Mexican kid, you remember Mateo from the Baljeet story? This same guy, he said Mateo Taco Truck Hernandez, photoshopped a sombrero on his head. Bro was out of pocket, you know, just being devious for no reason. This one kid would always be driving nice cars and stuff to school. He put Nolan Daddy's Money Rogers. So you get the idea, and he did this with pretty much everybody in the class. There was this really smart kid that was into coding and programming. He left his photo the same, just changed the name to Robot. So everybody's got a twin now. And he even gave the teacher a counterpart. The teacher's profile was Laura Foster. Jeff put a Laura Steal Yo Man Foster, you know, just for good measure. So the teacher even caught us stray during this whole thing. And it was all alphabetical, so everybody's fake name was right next to their real name. So it went real name, fake name, all the way down the list. So Edmodo Thursday comes around, Miss Foster says we're going to start using Edmodo today, and she says she's going to pull up the class list to make sure everybody successfully joined. And once she put that class list up on that projector, my boy Jeff just simultaneously roasted the entire class plus the teacher in one fell swoop. That's 30 birds, one stone. And Jeff was the exact type of guy to do something like this, so it took her like 7 seconds to figure that one out. And it was also suspicious that Jeff was the only name without a second version, so she made him stand up and told him to apologize. This man stood up, started issuing individual apologies to each person. He said, Amy, I'm sorry I said you can't drive. Mateo, I'm sorry I said you own a taco truck. Miss Foster, I'm sorry I said you'd steal somebody's man. I know you'd never do something like that. After like the third apology, she just cut him off, told him to sit down, and then deleted the whole class. And that was the last Edmodo Thursday. See, this is why we can't have nice things. It's just another example. Classroom apps never seem to go smoothly. And I know Ben Dover is still out there doing damage. He's definitely got 5 stars on him out there in those Kahoot streets. But yeah, that's all for this video. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the animation. Let me know any Kahoot stories you guys have down in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next one. So while I was in high school, I took PE as a freshman, and most of the other kids in the class were also freshmen, but there were a few people in the grades above us, and they would always be dunking on us and all of that, but that's just how it was, and we just kinda accepted it. And it was just your normal PE class, you know, nothing super interesting really ever happened. And that was supposed to be the last year that I took PE, but it wasn't because of some shenanigans that happened with the school when they were putting together everybody's schedules. So basically, every year they had a day before the year started where everyone stands in line to get their schedule and basically just get situated for the coming year. So for my senior year, I had already gotten most all my credits, so I signed up for some nice and easy classes, you know? So I'm standing there in line thinking about the easy year that I'm about to have, but then this lady, she hands me my schedule and I'm reading over it and I noticed a class on there that I don't remember signing up for. It was called something like creative essay writing or something crazy like that. It just sounded like something I did not want to be a part of. And then I look at the teacher for that class and it's the same teacher I had for English a couple years ago. Now, I'm not trying to slander this teacher or anything. She was actually a really nice person, but she would give these quizzes. Believe me when I tell you, these were not easy quizzes. They weren't even difficult quizzes. They were actually impossible quizzes. You know how you'll get a quiz and skip a question if you didn't know the answer? I would do that, and before I knew it, I'd gone through the whole thing and my paper is still 100% blank. That's how it was every other week whenever we had a quiz, and I was not trying to have to go through that experience all over again. So I see this class on my schedule and immediately go into full panic mode. I gotta get out of this class. So I call the lady in charge of the schedules to find out what the deal is. I'm like, why am I in this class? What's going on? And apparently the class I had actually signed up for didn't get enough people to sign up, so they had to get rid of it and just threw me in this writing class instead. I'm like, please, anything except this class. And she says I can go to PE if I want. I'm a pretty competitive guy. I enjoy PE. It was fun when I had it before, so I had no problem with that. I said, sign me up. And then I remember my friend had also signed up for that exact same class. I guess he got put in the same writing class as me, had the same reaction I did, and the lady transferred him to the same PE class. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, we're gonna be in there with a bunch of freshmen. They're like half the size of us. My friend was like this 6'3" really tall guy who can nearly dunk. I'm thinking like, I don't think the lady that put us in this class knew the problem that she just caused for all these freshmen. But the exact same thing happened to me the first time I took PE, so that's just the circle of life, I guess. So now I'm super hyped for this PE class. I'm ready to dominate and go undefeated in gym class. You know, nothing too extreme, just all in good fun. It'll be good for them to experience constant defeat anyways. It builds character. Little did I know, these plans would eventually get thrown out the window. But it started out like I thought it would. So the first unit we did was basketball. My friend and I would end up on the same team. He's jumping up to the rim. We could pass the ball freely back and forth. Any rebounds, forget about it. I remember this one game, the score was actually like 20-0 after like 3 minutes. But we weren't monsters, we didn't want to make it a miserable experience, so we would chill out and lay off when we needed to. So the teacher starts to notice things are a little unbalanced here and decides to step in and take action against this. And like I said, we would lay off when we needed to, but apparently that wasn't enough in the teacher's eyes, so she banned us from being on the same team for the rest of the basketball unit. So I'm like, whatever, we'll just wait it out until we start the next unit. It comes time for football, you can probably already guess what's about to happen. We're throwing Hail Mary passes all day long, and there would always be a few different games going on at once. So one day the teacher comes over to watch our game. We had just thrown like the 5th Hail Mary pass in a row, and it took like 10 minutes for her to ban us from football too. Then it looked like she was thinking about it, like she might reconsider. She goes, actually, I'm like, oh, she's still gonna let us have our fun. And she goes, no, actually, I'm gonna ban you in every sport for the rest of the year. From here on out, I'm requiring you guys to be on opposite teams. I'm like, what? And then she stuck by that rule too. Whenever we picked teams, if we ever ended up together, she would put a stop to it immediately. So I was kind of bummed out about it, and plus these freshmen are gonna get too comfortable facing no challenges and start thinking life is all about sunshine and rainbows. So I'm trying to think of a loophole to her rule, and then I realized we would often have a substitute in that class, and it always seemed like there was two types of substitute teachers in gym class. There were the ones where you would think their real job is like some type of army drill sergeant. They're like, oh, you normally do 10 push-ups? Well, today we're gonna do 10,000 push-ups, and if anyone takes a break, the whole class is gonna start over. And then the other kind was the ones that just didn't care at all. When we picked teams and the real teacher was there, she would make sure each captain took equal turns and everything was done correctly. But then you get one of these substitutes that just lets the students handle it all, and the team picking process will be absolute chaos. Kids are fighting over players, the team sizes are all disproportionate, and my friend and I, we would always end up being on the same team. And it would be back to this again. So there was this one day we had this one substitute and we were playing football, and he was pretty invested in watching how the games were going. So he's watching our game